On the mount of crucifixion, fountains open deep and wide, through the floodgates of God's mercy, flowed a vast and gracious tide, grace and love like mighty rivers, poured incessant from above, and heaven's peace and perfect justice kissed the guilty world in love.
Good morning. Thank you for joining me on Mercy Poured Forth. I was having a few difficulties. Didn't realize that you have to hit go live, so I hope we are now live. So glad you could be here. I know this show has become a blessing for me each and every morning, just to hear from the different speakers that we've had, share an encouraging word, something positive to start your day off right. I hope that you can continue to join us on all the new Heart of the Tribe shows that we're putting forth. A few days ago, I decided on a topic I wanted to share for my first Mercy Poured Forth, thinking I would have a week or so to get all my information together. Well, I'm still learning that Yah's timeline is much different than mine, and he said, how about I give you 2 days? So batter up, here we are, Wednesday, July 6, 2022. I'm still a little in unfamiliar territory with doing these live streams and a little rusty with presentations, but I know Yah never intended us to be lazy or comfortable in this life. Like Proverbs 16:27 through 29 says, idle hands are the devil's workshop. Idle lips are his mouthpiece. An evil man sows strife. Gossip separates the best of friends. Wickedness loves company and leads others to sin. A friend of mine always would say, when you can learn to be comfortable being uncomfortable, things get a lot easier. So that is something that has always stuck with me, and I always try to keep that in the back of my mind when I am going through what I would consider a challenging situation. Today, I would like to share an example of how the creation is so wonderful and how yahuah does nothing by accident, using a tiny insect to represent and foreshadow the greatest sacrifice and gift ever given to man. I was going to start with just one verse from Psalms 22, but after reading through the chapter, I realized I needed to read the whole thing. Eli, Eli, why have you forsaken me? Why are you so far from helping me and from the words of my roaring? O Elohai, I cry in the daytime, but you hear not, and in the night season I am not silent. But you are holy, O you that inhabit in the praises of Yasharel. Our fathers trusted in you, they trusted, and you did deliver them. They cried unto you and were delivered. They trusted in you, and you were not confounded. But I am a worm, and no man, a reproach of men, and despised of the people. All they that see me laugh me to scorn. They shoot out the lip, they shake the head, saying, he trusted on El Yahuah, that he would deliver him. Let him deliver him, seeing he delighted in him. But you are he that took me out of the womb. You did make me hope when I was upon my mother's breast. I was cast upon you from the womb. You are my El from my mother's belly. Be not far from me, for trouble is near, for there is none to help. Many bulls have compassed me, strong bulls of Bashan have beset me round. They gaped upon me with their mouths, as a ravening and a roaring lion. I am poured out like water, and all my bones are out of joint. My heart is like wax, it is melted in the midst of my belly. My strength is dried up like a potsherd, and my tongue cleaves to my jaws. And you have brought me into the dust of death. For dogs have compassed me, the assembly of the wicked have enclosed me. They pierced my hands and my feet. I may tell all my bones. They look and stare upon me. They part my garments among them, and cast lots upon my vesture. But be not far from me, O Adonai, O my strength. Haste you to help me. Deliver my soul from the sword, my darling from the power of the dog. Save me from the lion's mouth, for you have heard me from the horns of the unicorns. I will declare your name unto my brethren. In the midst of the assembly will I praise you. Ye that fear Yahuwah, praise him. All ye the seed of Yaakov, glorify him and fear him. All ye the seed of Yasharel, for he has not despised nor abhorred the affliction of the afflicted. Neither has he hid his face from him, but when he cried unto him, he heard. My praises shall be of you in the great assembly. I will pay my vows before them that fear him. The meek shall eat and be satisfied. They shall praise Yahuwah that seek him. Your heart shall live forever. All the ends of the world shall remember and turn unto El Yahuwah, and all the kindreds of the nations shall worship before you. For the kingdom of Yah's, and he is the governor among the nations. All they that be fat upon earth shall eat and worship. All they that go down to the dust shall bow before him, and none can keep alive his own soul. A seed shall serve him. It shall be accounted to Adonai for a generation. They shall come, and they shall declare his righteousness unto a people that shall be born, that he has done this. So the main verse out of that whole chapter that I wanted to talk about was in verse 6, when Yahusha says, David, but I am a word and no man, a reproach of men and despised of the people. The common Hebrew word for worm is rimah, and it is defined as a maggot or a worm. However, in Psalms 22, which was written nearly 1,000 years before the crucifixion, the word used for worm is tola, or tolaath, which identifies it as a crimson or scarlet worm. That is common to the Middle East and predominantly found in Israel. It is somewhat round in shape and often mistaken for a berry. So with this crimson word, we find a remez, which is a hidden message or a deeper meaning found below the surface or behind the words. It's amazing what you can find in the scriptures if you just sometimes read between the lines. And I think this is a great example of one foreshadowing of the crucifixion of Messiah. So when the female crimson worm is ready to lay her eggs, which happens only once in her life, she climbs up a tree and attaches herself in a way that she can never be removed without tearing her body completely apart. When the larvae hatch, they remain under the mother's protective shell so the baby worms can feed on the living body of the mother worm, a decidedly painful sacrifice. After just 3 days, when the young worms grow to the point that they are able to take care of themselves, the mother dies. As the mother crimson worm dies, she oozes a crimson or scarlet red dye, which not only stains the wood she is attached to, but also her young children. They are colored scarlet red for the rest of their lives. For the first 3 days, the worm can be scraped from the tree and the crimson gel can be used to make a dye. A brilliant, beautiful red dye. It was used for dyeing the curtains of the tabernacle and the garments of the high priest. Also in the purification rites of a leper or a house affected by leprosy. As well, we see it was added to the ashes of the red heifer. On the 4th day, the tail of the mother worm pulls up into her head, forming a heart-shaped body that is no longer crimson, but has turned into a snow-white wax that looks like a patch of wool on the tree. It then begins to flake off and drop to the ground looking like snow, which then can be used to make a shellac, which is a preservative of wood. Also, the crushed tolaath has natural antibacterial properties and was used in medicine to make the heart beat smoothly. So, as we look at some parallels from this story of the crimson worm to Messiah, we see lots of amazing things. Just as the mother worm attaches herself to the tree, Messiah put himself on a wooden cross, which is a type of tree. And Yahusha willingly allowed the nails to be driven into his hands. However, it wasn't the nails that held him to the cross. It was his desire to fulfill the purpose and the plan of the Father to redeem man from sin. Also, just as the mother worm, when crushed, excretes a crimson, a scarlet dye that both covers the baby worms and stains or marks them, Yahusha was also bruised or crushed for our iniquities. His scourgings and the nails that were driven into his hands and feet brought forth his crimson, his scarlet blood that both washes away our sins and marks us as his own. Just like the mother crimson worm, Yahusha allows us to eat his flesh and drink his blood. It's amazing that this was God's design for the worm's life cycle. So also it was Yah's plan for his design to send his only son to be attached to a tree to die for you and me. When Messiah said, "I am a worm," he was not saying, "I am a nobody." He was saying, "I am a torah. I will allow myself to be attached to a piece of wood. I will give my life for my children. I will bleed crimson and die so that they may live. My blood will cover them and take them from spiritual poverty to spiritual royalty. I will be crushed, but my blood will heal their hearts. My sacrifice will remove the dark stain of sin and forever preserve them, making them white as snow." The worm is a portrait of the selflessness of love and the bountiful gift given willingly by Messiah Yahusha to his sheep. In Hebrews 2, 9 through 10, "But we see Yahusha, who was made a little lower than Elohim for the suffering of death, crowned with glory and honor, that he by the grace of Elohim should taste death for every man, for it became him, for whom are all things, and by whom are all things, in bringing many sons unto glory, to make the captain of their salvation perfect through sufferings. Neither is there yhvh salvation in any other, for there is no other name under heaven given among men, whereby we must be saved." That's from Acts 4, verse 12. So as a repentant sinner, we must depend on the blood of Messiah for the forgiveness of sins, to receive new life, and to be marked as his own. In a world where almost everyone is all about "do as thou wilt," I wanted to bring a word of encouragement, a reminder of how selfless our Messiah was, and how his plan from the beginning was always to cover us in his redeeming blood. In a world on fire with death, destruction, and hate, there is life and salvation through the living water of our Messiah. Let his mercy reign on us all. And I just wanted to end with the priestly blessing. Yahuah bless you and guard you. Yahuah make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. Yahweh lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Thank you so much for joining me on Mercy Poured Forth. Like I said, we have many new shows on Heart of the Tribe. Here in just a few moments, Shel Wagner will be giving us our Besorah portion of the weekly Torah on Let's Talk Torah. And then later this afternoon, she'll be joined with Chris McIntyre on Reports from Under the Desk. They will be discussing some passages from Hebrews. So very much looking forward to that. As well, we have some other shows the rest of the week. Like I said, daily we offer something, and I hope that you can come back and see us and gain a word of encouragement. Thank you for joining me. Shalom.
On the mount of crucifixion, fountains open deep and wide, through the floodgates of God's mercy, flow the vast and gracious tide, grace and love like mighty rivers, poured incessant from above, and heaven's peace and perfect justice kiss the guilty world in